proper sex education starts at birth. And if you're really angry right now, how about you stick around before you start yelling at me like this person did in my comments. I released a podcast this week with Ashley Hudson, who is a licensed clinical social worker, and she is getting her doctorate in sexology or something. I don't know what the exact term is, but she's a sex therapist, okay? And we talked about raising sexually healthy kids, and even that title alone angered so many of you because you're afraid. All right, you are afraid of, I don't know, if you give them too much information, they'll start doing it at 5 or something. But the reality of the situation is research shows that sex education begins at birth. It begins with using anatomical names for your children's body parts. You don't call an elbow a thingamabob. You don't, so you call a penis. You don't call it a wiener or a ding-a-ling or ding-dong or front butt. Why? Why? Don't get lost in the weeds, Angela. Okay, but the thing is, from birth. Okay, you start teaching consent from birth by talking to your babies and telling them, hey, I know you're mad, but mama needs to change your diaper so that I can keep you safe and healthy. Can I please change it? Okay. Or you practice. All right. You know, in the podcast, Ashley talked about she would knock on her baby's room when she would go to get them out of bed, not because she thought that the baby was going to consent to them entering the room, but setting up that practice and precedent, an expectation for her family, because all of those things, consent, body parts, those are the foundational aspects of a healthy sex education. So when we talk about talking to your kids about sex and raising sexually healthy children, we are not telling 4-year-olds how to insert thing P into slat V. We are setting them up so that someday we can have the thing P into slat V conversation and they aren't shocked and scared and appalled and horrified, because that's what happened to some of y'all. Some of y'all's parents were so afraid to give you any sort of information that when they sat you down for that one 60-minute talk, you were terrified and horrified and frustrated and disgusted and all of the things. But if you normalize these conversations throughout their childhood, they are set up for a healthier sex life when they are adults. Okay? Okay. And one of the things that was pointed out in the podcast is if your child asks you a question and you refuse to answer it, or you redirect them or whatever, you are giving them a message. Even if you're not giving them factual information, you are conveying that this is something to be ashamed of, that this is something that they should be ashamed for asking. And they're still going to be curious and they're going to look for answers. They won't look to you anymore because you can't be trusted. But they will look to their friends, they will look to the internet, and they should be coming to you. So stop being afraid to talk to your kids about sex. Stop making it weird and thinking that you're talking to a 4-year-old about where things belong, and learn how to offer a comprehensive sex education to your child. And that starts with listening to this week's podcast about raising sexually healthy children on the Go Have Good Sex podcast featuring me, the Christian Sexpert.